name is Kira Oliver. I am a top 5% producing real estate agent in the state of Georgia. If you want to follow me on social media, you can follow me on Instagram at the Kira Oliver. And right now I am affiliated with Norman and Associates.
What's up, guys? I am Crystal Kimbrough, and I am the owner and managing attorney of one of the oldest minority real estate law firms in Georgia, Kimbrough Law. And if you want to keep up with me, you can find me at closingattorney_Chris and Kimbrough Law LLC on all social media platforms.
Hi, you guys. My name is Kiana Watson. I am a broker owner of Watson Realty Co. I have an online training platform, Agent Tools for Success. I have an online membership for CEOs, which is called the CEO Society. And I am just a huge advocate of, you don't have to only sell real estate. You can be all things and be the CEO of your life and have multiple streams of income. It's easy to find me, Kiana Watson, on all platforms, and that is QUIANAWATSON. And you can also visit my website, Kiana Watson. It has all great things about me, what I do, and how I can better serve you.
My name is Tiffany Hawes. I am the owner of the Hawes Law Firm, HAWES. I am a married mom of 3. I've been practicing real estate since 2006, first as a paralegal, and then after graduating law school, I opened up my own firm. I'm just out here in these streets trying to get contracts and trying to just take care of my children and my husband. You can find me on Instagram at TiffanyHawes_closing attorney.
Hello, everyone. I am Tiana Harrison. I am a top producer in the state of Georgia. I am dually licensed in Georgia, Atlanta metropolitan area, and Nashville, Tennessee. And I am, like Tiffany, I'm a wife. I'm a mother of 2. We're a very active family, and I enjoy all things real estate, all things sports, all things, well, mostly fashion. My thing is more of style. And so I'm just happy to be here.
Jada, hi, I'm Robin Andrade. I'm the veteran of the group. I am the owner broker of Sell Atlanta. I'm a mother of 2 adult children, and my plight here in this platform is going to be used to explore racism in real estate. And we're going to also go on a discovery, a mental health discovery, and a wellness journey. That's my role here.
Okay, well, that leads into my next question. Do you all feel like you've experienced like racism or discrimination in the industry?
I would say I started to experience more racism and more division. The higher the price point got it when I started to really work with more luxury clients and shopping in those $1 million properties and $1 million plus properties, I started to notice that the agents would not only ask questions that I felt like were not necessary because you already have a mortgage approval letter, but asking what my clients do, what industry are they in, following us from room to room to the point where it's uncomfortable for not just myself, but for my clients. I have experienced that a lot in our luxury market. And I think one of my main, just something that I love to push is we can all sell luxury, and the more of us that are in that field, the less we'll start to experience that very explicit racism that happens, especially in that market.
I just had an experience, and I've experienced racism throughout because I have worked in the luxury sector throughout my career as a real estate professional. So recently I experienced a situation where an agent was actually the person who expressed themselves in that type of way. And what happened is when she came to my multi-million-dollar property, her immediate response to seeing me to her client was that was that, oh, this has been known as a bad luck property. It's not, I mean, and it's not the price that it's supposed to be at. Whereas there could be some adjustments made regarding price. If you're really interested in the property, you're going to submit an offer. And in her case, it was more of when they see you, they automatically want to discount who you are because they cannot relate at times to the fact that it's you, in Kiana's case, as the buyer's agent, selling these multi-million-dollar properties, or in my case, as the listing agent. How could I possibly get a listing of this caliber looking the way I do?
Most of the time, people are not sure what my nationality is, but it's definitely there. Listing agents are very much known for over scrutinizing approval letters. And when you do get I got a listing in a very much Trump neighborhood, and there were Trump signs all the way to the house. And it was a Black family, and we had to desensitize the home. We had to take away things such as all of their HBCU memorabilia, even who they were voting for. It was election time, and they had political signs in their front yard, and we had to get rid of them. White agents would come through and not respect the fact that, your shoes had to be off. They would walk through barefoot and not feel like they had the need to show you an approval letter or send you an approval letter. They get really aggressive with it. It's definitely a good old boys club and a mean girls clique when it comes to racism in real estate. And I decided to explore that as my platform on this show, because there's a lot of people that are successful in selling real estate, and that's great. But I think that we have reached a level in time also where we have to now start to change some of these laws and break some of the chains and stop doing business the way we've always known how to do it, and just change it, Yeah, I mean, I can't say it's racism, but sometimes my pictures on Zillow don't appear, and there's always a glitch with FMLS. There's always something going wrong with my particular listings. It's very weird, and not anything that you can actually underline and say this is racism, but there's definitely a different level of treatment for sure.
And just to chime in from the legal aspect, Jada, and I think I've said this on another interview, but we close both residential and commercial closings. And when I'm closing these multi-million-dollar commercial deals, there's an attorney represented, or who is representing each party in the transaction. And a lot of the times those attorneys will try to puff their chest at you and try to get you to do what's on their side of the ledger to do. And because they're golf buddies with, our underwriters from which we write title insurance, a lot of the times, sometimes the underwriters will favor on the good old boys platform because they're golf buddies. Maybe their grandparents had connections to each other. And so their connection and the racism is so deep rooted that it's almost difficult to see. But I had a closing some years ago with a white supremacist who's known for purposefully gentrifying neighborhoods. And I didn't know that he was a white supremacist until I got up from the closing table, all because of his energy. You can feel the energy, and you could feel that something was not right with him. So I went to go Google his name, and there's articles and articles written about him. And of course, I won't announce his name, but he's also a real estate attorney, coincidentally, who's also an investor, and he's known for gentrifying neighborhoods. So these are the kind of problems we're up against as women, as Black women. And I'm just proud of us for not letting that stop us from achieving everything that each one of these women have achieved.
How do you all prioritize mental and physical self-care while working so much and providing for your families? Because I know that even on the show, some of you all were talking about how you provide for your family, and then you have kids and stuff. So how do you all balance that and take care of yourselves?
I'll start off. I'll say for me, I'm not married and I don't have children. So I really just take care of self. In a business such as real estate, it does get very, very stressful. And there comes a time where you have to sit and have conversations with yourself and know when you're going too hard. So for me, how I prioritize and find a peace of mind is I'll go really hard during the week, and on the weekends, I typically take that time to myself. Or if I'm going really hard that month, then I'll take a week off and go to vacation. And a lot of people think it's vacation when it's really just a recharge. You need to get away, be in a different environment just to take control of what you're thinking and how hard you are going back in your current state. So for me, that's typically what I do. It has been hard, especially like the physical aspect. I used to work out before I got into real estate. And when you get into real estate, taking care of your body, we're always on the road, we're always on the go. So we're always eating out. And a lot of real estate agents do, start to neglect their health and their bodies just because we're drinking, we're socializing, we're doing all of these other things. But you have to have the mindset that this has to be a priority, and that's just it. You have to take control and you have to go do the necessary things to keep yourself in shape and have good health.
I think for myself, with me having 3 younger children and running a business and being a wife, it can get very difficult, and it actually did get very difficult for me, where the lines did get blurred between self and everyone else. I was focusing more on my business and what needed to happen there. And then I would come home, and raising a family, as much as you love your children and your husband, is still another business. You still have to pour into them. They still want everything from you. And so I let myself get to a point where I wasn't charged, and I didn't know how to plug myself back in, because in order to have a successful business, your mind has to be wired a certain way anyway, right? So my mind is always wired to go. And where somebody else may not have that ability, they may not be, as successful or able to juggle so many things. For me, it was just another day until it wasn't. And so now, having gone through, a mental breakdown, because I was giving myself to everybody else, now myself is important. So, not being at the office all the time, implementing, running and walking on the treadmill. I'm not a workout, fanatic or anything like that, but I also didn't want to be on medication. And the alternative to medication is, of course, physical fitness, right? Running, anything to get your endorphins up. And then just eating, as good as possible, removing the sugar, removing caffeine, because all those types of things can also mess with your mental. And then the number one thing is making sure that you're getting adequate rest. When you are not sleeping, when you are up, when you are waking up at 5 o'clock, how people say, why sleep when you can hustle, or all that mess, because it's just unhealthy. It's not healthy for us. Our brain needs time to regenerate. So making sure you're getting those 8 hours of sleep, uninterrupted, so that you can wake up refreshed. And so those are some of the things that I've had to implement for myself, because I did go through that time where I had a mental breakdown, just trying to keep it all together.
I think the best thing you can do, Jada, is figure out what your boundaries are and set them as soon as possible. And I think as soon as you do that, then you won't allow someone to overwork you or abuse your time or harass you because they have an emergency. Their emergency is not my emergency. So you have to be very clear on setting those expectations up front. And I think if you get ahead of it by setting them before they come up, then I think everyone will pretty much be understanding of the boundaries you're setting.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. It all goes back to what the lady said. And I think that it starts with discipline, especially when you're in this realm of real estate for each of the women. Discipline and understanding that. I know that for me, it's about quality of life. I mean, I'm in my upper 30s, and so quality of life is very vital to me being able to maintain my health, as a real estate professional, as a mother, as a wife, and all of those things. But also another key to it is the people that we have around us. And I would say that, in Kira's case, she recharges and resets on vacation, whereas I can't do what Kira does. I am I can't take a week out or a weekend because she works hard. So nothing taken away from her, but I mean, I wish, but at the same time, I allow it's so interesting. My kids' extracurricular activities actually help me reset and recharge because that outlet allows me to focus on them and not on the business or focus on something else. And so I would definitely say that it's all about quality of life and being able to focus on the things that are important.
I will definitely chime in there. It's the same for me. I take a lot of time, but I listen to a lot of affirmations. I'm really big on my quiet time. Anyone that knows, I hate taking like last minute vacations and running away. I like to be at home. I am an at home person. I go to dinner and I go home. I get cute, go dinner, go home. And I spend time with my family, my mom, my nieces. And I love to do that privately. And that's how I find my peace of mind. And I have people on staff. As I built my business, it became more and more important to me to build my payroll because I am not trying to be a one-person show and do everything. So I've been able to scale because I have hired and I've outsourced and I've created systems and processes and boundaries. So even when I do feel overwhelmed, I don't mind saying I'm fully committed. That's our favorite quote. We're saying that right now. I'm fully committed for the month of January. I'm not taking any new clients, work with someone within the team. I don't mind saying that. I no longer feel like I'm going to miss an opportunity because I already have enough, So learning, my husband always says you can't make all the money. And if it's an opportunity, if it's for you, it won't miss you. So in real estate, it's a lot about availability and what you have going on. And you have to be able just to say, no, this month or this week, I have these times with my family, time with myself, and I'm not going to overcommit. And that's what has been saving me. And I can tell you, I did have anxiety about 2.5 years ago when I was first building my business. And I recognized that I was getting that anxiety because I wanted to prove that I could be just this great person. And I said yes to every opportunity and no to all of my personal life, and it wasn't working. So I recognize my boundaries and my limits, and I don't mind just easing into my business.
Robin?
Yeah, so I'm one of the cast members that struggles with severe depression. Coming up with an abusive family has been difficult for me, pretty much self-raised. And how I incorporate self-care now is I'm an avid yogi. I practice yoga 5 days a week, and I won't, make any real estate appointments on the days where I practice my self-care. I've learned to delegate. I do have a group of agents now that I'm able to pass on work to, and I no longer work on Sundays. That day has been dedicated totally to my self-care. I do stay home a lot. I enjoy baths. I enjoy, treating my hair with different products, natural products. Staying to myself and protecting my space has become very, very, very important. The world is a mean place, and sometimes you have people very close to you who can turn around and change your mood and change what you're thinking. So I have navigated more inward to protect basically my sanity. And it's been quite a journey that I'm continuing to explore. And self-care is numero uno over here now. I mean, in the beginning, when I was a new real estate agent, you were trying to get every single deal. You worked around the clock. You worked 24/7. It's just not that important to me anymore. I feel like I've reached a level of success where I'm comfortable and I don't have to have it all, but I do need my mental health in order just to be able to survive the day-to-day things that have nothing to do with work.
Okay, so my next question is, how long have you all been in real estate and what made you want to do it?
Well, I'm a veteran in the real estate arena. I've been in it 17 years now. And what made me want to do it is I was tired of being bossed around in a 9-to-5, and a daycare center was raising my kids. I couldn't afford a nanny back then. And I just wanted freedom and flexibility. and this arena offered that. I knew I was a natural salesperson, so I ran with it.
For me, I ended up being thrown into real estate because when I graduated undergrad, I was headed to law school, but ended up getting pregnant with my oldest son. And so what I ended up doing was taking a paralegal certificate, and I got that like in a year. And I literally sent my resume out to every law firm in Augusta, Georgia. And the person that called me back happened to be a real estate closing attorney. That was my first introduction to real estate. That was my first introduction to real estate law. I didn't even know that it existed. And so once you learn these particular skills, especially in the legal realm, you know, they're priceless. And I was able to continue learning during that time and go to law school at night while I still worked as a real estate paralegal. So then when I graduated and took the bar, I was able to open up the Hawes Law Firm immediately and start doing closings for residential real estate. So mine was purely by accident, because if you would have asked me what type of law I was going to practice, I was going to be in somebody's courtroom fighting and yelling and doing all that kind of stuff. And now, you know, I don't even go to court.
Oh, my story is so backwards. So I did get my real estate license in 2007, but subsequently I never sold a house until 2015. And the first house I did sell was a referral like from my husband. And it was one of his friends' houses. And so I was still operating as a part-time agent in 2015. I didn't go full-time until they sold the last residential property that I was managing. I used to manage residential properties, and they sold that property. I took my severance pay. And so the end of 2015 is when I really kind of came into real estate full-time. So I always kind of say I have a mixed up story. I never want to say it. I can't count 2007, right? I can only count from 2015 when I know that I started to actively sell and actively engage in the real estate world and take and focus on the business aspect of being a real estate professional. And the reason I got into the business, property management was wearing me thin. And when I started to do real estate part-time, I had two phones. I was managing 8 people. I had the company phone. I had to, you know, if the maintenance supervisor didn't answer at night, they would contact me. And I was completely overwhelmed, and I was no longer interested in staying in that field. I really wanted to explore other talents. And my husband really pushed me to get into being an entrepreneur. He really said I had everything that it took, and here I am today. So he'd be right about some things.
Jada, I have been in the real estate industry for a little bit over 10 years. I've been a residential and commercial real estate agent for going on 8 years. And like Kiana, I started in property management. I was the property manager of 2 high-rise buildings in Midtown, 1010 Midtown, as well as the residences above the Lowe's, which is 1065. So I got married, had a daughter, and we needed the flexibility. My husband said, you know, you go out and do what it is that you need to do in order for one of us to be able to go to doctor's appointments. And so like Robin, the flexibility, which is not any flexibility, you just are able to structure your schedule. So that's a correction. Personally, you're just able to structure your schedules a little bit better. But when you're in the throes of it, the flexibility doesn't really exist. Kind of like balance.
Flexibility as it relates to like being in a 9 to 5 and being told you have a 15-minute break, or, you know, kids are sick and you can't call out.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes, like
so, yeah, going on 8 years for sales, and that's my story.
And I guess I'll jump in. I've had Kimbrough Law. It'll be 9 years in December, and I knew I was either going to do IP, soft IP, which is like trademarks, copyrights, or real estate. And real estate presented the first opportunity because of my boss when I was in-house at the Coca-Cola company. She introduced me to a friend of hers who had her own real estate law practice. So I was in that real estate law practice killing it. And I was doing what's called mobile closings, which means I would be driving all around Georgia, running myself rampant, like still stacking the money because it was lucrative at the time. And then after a year of doing that, I was just like, I think I can do this. And I think I can do it better. So it was a little bit of arrogance, but it was also confidence and an opportunity that I seized. And so 9 years ago, I started out doing it all by myself, one woman show 9 years ago from beginning to end. And as an attorney, that's like unheard of. Usually people start out with help, but I didn't have a husband to help me. I had a supportive family, but they weren't ever a family that would just give me anything. So I had to work and I had to earn to the point that I could develop a full staff like I have now. And I honestly don't have any regrets. And I couldn't imagine doing anything else than what I'm doing right now. So
mine actually came just, I don't know when. I was in college and I had taken all of the basic courses and it came time to choose a major. And I'm a very indecisive person. And I had a good friend back in college and they said, why don't you just try real estate? Your TV is always on HGTV. That's what you seem to have a passion for. So I said, you know what? You're right. So I ended up getting my undergrad in international business with a concentration in marketing. And I reached out to a few agents on Zillow. Randomly, somebody gave me a conversation and said, hey, look, I would wait to take your real estate exam until you know which state you're going to be in. So once I graduated college, I took a job making $10 an hour just because I knew I wanted to take the real estate course, but I needed the flexibility of something that would free up my time so I could take it online. So I ended up taking a lower paying job just to take the real estate course, got complacent, moved, switched careers, and I ended up getting laid off while I still had this course. So once I got laid off, 2 weeks later, I finished the course, got my license, and I've never looked back since. I've been in real estate 4.5, going on 5 years.
What do you feel like are some of your biggest obstacles in real estate transactions?
Clearing title. No, I'm just kidding. I'll jump in. I think the biggest obstacle for me as a business owner was going after a specific market. Like so when I first started 9 years ago, I was like, you got a closing? You got a closing? Anybody got a closing? You want to close? And I would want to close with everyone. But sometimes the juice is not worth the squeeze. And you'll find that certain transactions in certain type of agents and developers and investors don't really fit your business model. So I think the biggest obstacle for me was being comfortable in not wanting or accepting everyone's business. Like sometimes it's in your best interest to specifically identify who your ideal client is and be confident that you can go after that specific client and you're not necessarily losing profits. What you'll find is that you have a healthier work-life balance and your profits will probably increase, at least for me. So I think the hardest part for me was being comfortable, specifically identifying who my ideal client was and going after that.
I would have to say that I'm not sure if it's one of my biggest things, but I'm thinking of this because we have successful women on this cast, but I am a private person. More than that, my clients are super private. So one of my biggest challenges in this industry is that it has evolved into a very social, influencer realm, which Kira and Kiana, just do very, very, very good at. Whereas like for me, it has taken me a little bit longer to be able to capture or to be consistent when it comes to, marketing myself socially or on different social platforms.
And I think that's really, for me, I think in this industry, my biggest challenge has been figuring out exactly what I want from out of the business, right? And I feel like I'm finally in that space where I've decided that I really do want to be more of a managing broker, because you have so many opportunities. And I think that's the biggest challenge for me. Do you want to be just the number one agent, or do you want to have the number one brokerage? And for me, I'm in the middle. Like last year, I was in the middle of that transition. And right now I'm challenging myself to put that as the forefront. And it's a sacrifice, because you're, essentially when you do own a brokerage and you are representing for the company, you have to be mindful of what you say, what you do, how you move, and you want to attract a specific type of specific agents, right? And I always tell people this: I don't think being a broker owner is something that everyone should or will aspire to do, because it becomes a little selfless, because you really are putting other people in front of you and putting them in positions to win. And when I say that, I say that wholeheartedly. Every agent that has trained with me, that is with me, they are producing at a high level, and it's not a coincidence. But in the background, those are sleepless nights. That is times where I've, given the lead, like just putting them in positions to just be better, right? And I would say that is the biggest task that I'm dealing with right now. It's like Kiana fighting Kiana the agent fighting Kiana the broker. And I want Kiana the broker to win. So I'm taking the time to really focus on that, like developing those leadership skills and focusing on the brokerage.
I would definitely say, our battle is not similar, but it's similar. For me is, I've always wanted to be an attorney. I've done that. I always wanted to be a successful business owner. I've done that. And me and my husband have put our family in a place where we don't necessarily have to grind and go after the almighty dollar as much as we did. And my struggle right now is, God has blessed me with a successful business. This is easy for me. I know real estate. I can get along with people, really, really easy. But my heartstrings are pulling more towards being with family, being with my kids, possibly even expanding my family. That's where my heart is right now. So that battle between not Kiana, but Tiffany, the business owner, the focused attorney, the little girl achieving all her dreams, and Tiffany, the mom that wants to push my children so that they can achieve all their dreams, and me just be a more present, not that I'm not present, because I'm with my children all the time, but just a more present person in their life, focusing on all of their dreams, because I've accomplished mine already.
I felt that one. I hate to even just kind of say one more thing, but I feel it, because you get blessed with all this business. And all of a sudden, boom, you don't want to seem ungrateful because you want to go in a different direction. But
right.
So I get that. I get it, Tiffany.
The biggest struggle, and I'm going to speak out to new agents that are just getting into real estate, would be finding what works for you. All of us ladies are on this cast. We are all successful, but we all operate our businesses totally different. I am not Kiana, I am not Tiana, and they are not me. And so when you get into real estate and you have an idea of, I want to be a real estate professional, everyone thinks I'm going to show a house, I'm going to make money, and they don't understand the back end of things. We all are selling the same product at the end of the day, but we are all doing it differently. So you have to come into this business and know what works for you. So for me, I had to find that early on. I had to be myself. I couldn't jump out and be Kiana, Tiana, anyone else. You really have to find out who you are and engage in that and indulge in that, put that out to the world, and you will start attracting the clientele that's meant for your business. So I would say, starting off in real estate, I'll speak to that. Find out who you are and what works for you, and you will attract the clientele that's meant for your business.
How big of an asset do you all feel like social media has been to your business?
Social media is 90% of my business. Social media is very important. I've been blessed. I don't have to cold call. I don't have to door knock. I don't send out mailers. I don't buy leads. I've never done any of those things. Well, I did cold call like twice when I first started, but social media, I tell everyone this, social media can be a blessing and a curse. If I'm in Atlanta, I could meet someone that's in Paris. Why am I not utilizing these free apps to gain more business? And it could be business if I wanted to venture off and do something else. I don't have to sit in Atlanta, Georgia, and network with people in Atlanta. I can network with someone in California that wants to move to Atlanta just based off of social media. And I work with a lot of high profile clientele, and all of them have came by the way of social media. A DM, a referral, hey, I'm going to put us in a group chat because it's the easiest way to get in contact with someone. If you wanted to reach out to Beyonce, not saying she would see it, but you could go on Instagram and DM her. That's how easy.
I have to say this. Oh, Crystal, I'm sorry. I have to say this real quick because like I mentioned before, Kira is very good at capitalizing on social media. So as for me, I don't know, maybe I'm old school. I enjoy organic relationships, not that the other ladies do not, but I enjoy the opportunity to meet someone, to maybe do business with them, maybe create or establish a personal relationship, and then that trickle into something. We barely live in that world anymore. It's more like we are entering the metaverse, and if you don't get with it, then you're not going to get paid. So, we all have to make some adjustments, and within this industry, if we do not make those adjustments, we won't reap the benefits of that. So we have to move into that era, whether we like it or don't, or decide to do so or not. And so, social media does play a role in my business, and I look forward to what it's going to do in the future.
Period.
I'm like Kira. She 100% of my business also came from social media. For me, it was different. For me, it was the ability to access people when I couldn't. I couldn't go to traditional networking meetings. I couldn't take people to lunch. I couldn't do all these things because when I'm done working, again, I had to do homework. I had to take my kids to sporting games, to practice and all of this. And I just did not have the ability to do that. So it was like, are you going to stop, or are you going to find a different avenue? And social media and hashtags gave me that avenue where I can be at basketball practice and still interact with the whole entire real estate universe without me having to shake hands, go to networking meetings, take people to lunches. It allowed me to expose who I was personally and on a business front, and allow people to do business with me if they wanted to or not. If they saw that I was somebody that they would be interested in, putting my law firm's name on their contract. And it served its purpose, and it's been phenomenal for my business. So yeah, 100% of my business with Kira.
It's not 100%. It's not 100%.
Well, not now. Now it's referral.
Because Tiffany, and listen, I can tell you that between Kiana and I don't know if Kiana met you on social media, but I know for sure I didn't. So maybe that 99.9 is Tiffany. Look, don't cap.
Listen, I certainly didn't. She was aligned with the right people, and I needed an attorney, a Black attorney. And I was like, Roxy, I'm doing this home buying seminar. I need a Black attorney. And she said, Tiffany, I said, well, can you show up? Because it was the next day. And she showed up, and I feel like we did a gazillion home buying seminars.
Roxy found me on social media though. So there's the connect.
Yes. So I found her through Roxy, but just to answer your question, I love social media, but I look at social media for the business of social media. It's very much so business for me. It's not as much social. I used to have a private page that was way more social. And when people found it, they were all like I just got rid of it. And so now I don't have a need to feel like I have to share every little thing. What I share is very specific and very strategic. And it's in alignment with my brand. It's in alignment with what I don't mind the world seeing. And I feel like social media for me was an outlet and a way for me to share my real estate world and my real estate life, because I was bored and I was busy at the same time. And I don't know how to explain it, but I was always in the car showing all these houses. So I was bored and I was busy. So I just put a camera in my face, put a holster in my car, and I was just sharing everything I was doing. And I didn't think it would be interesting to people, but they started to really get interested in the coffee talk, me having coffee, talking to them about a deal. And it just grew from there. My audience grew from there. And I would say then it wasn't strategic. Then I was just trying to share my day. Now it's like every single thing is very much so strategic and in alignment with the growth and elevation. And I have never had to pay for a lead. I've never cold called. I've never door knocked. And I consistently got in great business. And I realized that people want to work with people that they can relate to, especially in real estate. And so most of my clients, they relate to me. Most of them, subsequently, most of them are married women with no kids. Most of them are like very fashionable. Most of them, like when I really look at my database, a lot of people that attract themselves to me have similarities. And I really enjoy that because now you're working with people that you like. And they respect your processes and they respect what you have going on. And it is a beautiful thing. That is the best part I love about social media marketing.
And I just want to chime in real quick. I don't have a lot to say on this, but I will say that if you're starting a business now, it's a great time because 9-10 years ago, when all of us were pretty much just starting, social media was not what it is now. So me personally, I actually reached out to agents because that was back when I was going after individual agents. My platform was Zillow and Trulia. So I would reach out to agents through Zillow and Trulia and ask them to coffee. And I told them that I was a closing attorney and I want to meet you for coffee to learn about how we can benefit from each other. But maybe after like meeting 25 agents, maybe 1 or 2 would send me a contract. And then from there, it would just trickle by word of mouth. So if you're starting a business now, you're in a great place because social media is there and it wasn't there when we were back starting our businesses. So social media is a good avenue for any kind of business, especially if you're strategic.
What are some tips or advice that you would give someone that's trying to break into real estate?
My first piece of advice would be make sure that this is something that you want to do. Real estate has a high turnover rate for a reason. It's not because people come in and they say, hey, I'm going to make all of this money, I'm successful. No, it takes on average 6 months for a real estate professional agent to make a commission check. And if you can't wait that long, and if you think I'm going to come into real estate and I'm going to sell $1 million property in a month, that's not going to cut it. And you don't give up on your passion. I tell everybody, learn to turn your passion into profits, whatever that may be. If it's not real estate, figure out something else, but don't get into real estate just because everyone else is doing it and they're making it seem like it's an easy career, because it is not. It is a lot of hard work. It's a lot of tears. Try going a year without making money just to turn around the next year and make $250,000. That's what you have to be willing to do. You have to be willing to sacrifice and suffer a lot. Your free time, your family, your friends, eating, like vacation, whatever the case may be, you have to sacrifice. So make sure that this is something that you really want to do, and make sure that it's something that you have a passion for, because if you don't, it will not align and you will go into something else that you think is easy as well.
I think another thing that you really should try to do is learn contract law. And it doesn't matter if you're an investor, an agent, or a builder. If you know the contract and if you know the basics of contract and you're armed with that knowledge, it'll put you in a place of power. And so like for me, for my firm, I offer coffee with counsel because it's one of my cornerstones to educate. Because the more you know, the better and bigger you'll be. So my piece of advice was learn as much as possible about real estate, about contracts, but don't sit on it too long. At some point, you have to start where you are. And you're never going to feel like you're 100% prepared. So don't wait for the opportunity of you feeling fully prepared, because it'll never come. So do your due diligence and learn as much as possible, but don't wait too long. Start where you are.
I agree totally with Kira and Crystal, and I'm glad that Crystal stated that, because the reality is that when you get into any field, any industry, you want to know what it is that you're doing. And when it comes to contracts, you want to be able to recite those contracts from front to back and be able to understand the stipulations and contingencies, exhibits that go into play when executing an agreement. To go back to what Kira said, and one word really stuck out to me, you have to be willing. So just like our clients, when they come to the table, having to be ready, willing, and able, as a new agent coming into this field, you need to be ready, willing, and able, because it does take some money. Sometimes it may not, but for the most part, it takes some money to establish yourself, and then you have to be willing to do the work. And then, you know, you just have to be ready for what that entails, because just as she mentioned, the number of people who are coming into the industry, I know oftentimes it seems saturated. That's the same amount of people who have to exit the industry. And so, you know, as far as new agents coming in, I would heed the advice of the women of this cast, because we know exactly what we're doing, because we do this day in and day out.
I agree with that. You know, definitely. Everything you guys said is like really nothing more to add. Understand your craft, know your contracts, have a passion for the business, and be serious about it. Like I'll take responsibility. I think that sometimes I do make it look easy with my curated content. And you get on here and you see me blowing in the wind, and you see some designer bag, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to jump out of a car and sell $1 million house because I just saw that video. But what you don't see is the nights that I'm up all night, that I take every single contract class that Wiseman Law offers, that any attorney that I've ever worked with will say, I know contract law, I understand, I have a temperament for sales. Those are things you don't see, right? So I really encourage, I always tell agents, if you do anything first, before you do the big marketing photo shoot, actually understand the business first, then do the photo shoot. So that way you can actually back it up. See, you know, I can back it up. I can do whatever the extra stuff is, but also back that up with knowledge, because the moment that you cannot, it is disrespectful to our industry and how hard that anyone has worked before us and will work behind us to build a reputable business in real estate.